This is the overview of the cellular phone, and we will only cover the top actually because the bottom is fairly simple. Now what we want to do is take a look at when this was created. So I'm going to give you an overview of it, but we do want to take a look and see how it was created. We're going to investigate it and look at the file history. And the reason for doing this, I want you to see here that this was created in 1996, long time ago. Therefore, the capabilities of the Pro Engineer product at the time were considerably different. So even though we're going to go over how this was created, it doesn't mean that you have to use the exact same procedure. In fact, if you look at some of the things that are over here in the model tree, it's kind of a messy model tree, and yours might and hopefully will look and be a lot better than this one. The actual sizes are correct, and you get that from the drawings that are provided in your PDF download. So you want to work with this. The people who created most of the projects didn't have a little overview lesson like this, a lecture. They did it just with the drawings on their own. All right, so we've seen that it was created a long time ago. Let's stick here with the tool tab, and we'll go back to the beginning, and we will play the model tree. You can see that this is just a very simple rectangular protrusion. A little arc on one side, it's a cut. I'm not saying that's the perfect way to do it. That cut should have been integrated into the first feature. And here we have another cut. Now this one is important. We're going to be going over this with the edit definition command also. Some rounds put on there. These big rounds here, they actually could have been put in the first. This could have been the first protrusion and then one cut here. And the draft was added. And now with the protrusions you can add an angle, and if it's a small enough angle you can put it in with the first command for your extrusion. And they rounded the edges, shelled it out, put in a hole there, put a cutout, and pattern the holes for the buttons. Added another cut. Couple cuts there. You can streamline this by copying and pasting and changing the dimensions for all three of those. And we have a little pedestal here. Drafted it. Put a hole down the middle. Very similar to lesson number 18 in the book for this portion. Some datum features added. Draft. And they patterned this, grouped and patterned it. I shouldn't say that until I look at it actually. Drafted the hole. Datum plane added. And that's it. So we'll look at a few of the things here and make some comments on them. Our first extrusion here we talked about, just a rectangle. But it would seem to me that this cut here should have been integrated into it. So these two. Let's see if it'll allow me to move this up. So this should have been your first feature here. And even with this, you could have added these rounds and made that the first feature. And you could have added the draft. Let's see if we can do that. Add taper. So you could have added a taper there. Combined all of that. This cut here, though, this is important. It's obviously going to be separate. And let's look at how they did the sketch on this. So this 50-inch dimension obviously is along this datum. And it has a very small arc to it because it's so large. Cut, I should say. Use a reference on the end. See it a little bit better. Cancel that one. So again, we had the draft put on, and that could have been integrated in. Shell's not that important. It's easy to do. Just remove its one thickness. Stuck a hole in the back here. That was not a big deal. Added a cut. And that's interesting. They used the datum plane here to cut all the way through. That's a good idea. You can see how they constrained it. Only a couple dimensions. Use center lines. They tended to use tangencies here and some symmetry. Now they patterned the hole. This is kind of odd. Looks like they mirrored it. You might try another method here. I think it would be better. Do a pattern, cable pattern maybe, or just a pattern and then remove the ones that you don't want. Let's see what else down here. Got a cut. That's interesting. That's kind of odd. Again, not saying this is exactly another cut. That's very odd. So I wouldn't say this would be the best way to approach it, and it would be much slower doing it this method also. You have a cut here, another cut, and another cut. So again, somehow or another you could do one of these and then paste, copy and paste special, changing the side. Get these three using one set of commands. And we have our group here. So this is the protrusion. Again, it's very similar to lesson 18. You have a draft and the hole in the draft, exactly like we did. And you should do this project after lesson 18, obviously. Now, the interesting command here, they did a lip command. A lip command is an older style command. It's usually not that is not active or available to you with your standard shapes here. You have to activate that in your options. So basically it's the exact same thing. Oh, this is interesting. Let's see. Edit definition. It won't allow me to edit it. Let's see what happens here. Maybe I'll just drop these down. I'm not sure what these other two datum planes are for or why they were needed. But the lip, it looks like it's not active for me to actually play it back. But basically all it is a sweep cut that goes around. Take that back. Let's see. It's a sweep added. Well, it's not a cut. It's an added feature. So it's an extrusion. But you can do it with a sweep also. Sweep it around and add that portion. using the edge here as the sweep profile trajectory. All right, that ends the cell phone top. Again, the bottom is less difficult, so you'll be using the drawings here, and make sure you pay attention to the dimensions, and they do have differing thicknesses, so you may or may not decide to use a shell for it.